Welcome to Launch Code, a premier business podcast, starring Evan Hafer, Matt Best, and Jared Taylor.
All right, welcome to Launch Code. We've got two guests today, Jeff Gonzalez, right?
Yes, sir.
And Mike McKim. So Mike and I have been friends for almost 2 years now, right?
Yeah, it's been 2+.
And he is a coffee roaster. I think, God, what all else do you do up there? You make cold brew, you roast coffee. He does a ton of amazing shit in coffee in the state of Texas and outside of the state of Texas. Fantastic guy. Welcome to the show, Mike McKim.
Man, thanks so much for having me, and kudos to you for bringing a coffee company onto your podcast.
Well, I drink your coffee, so you're the only coffee I've ever posted on my personal Instagram.
Wow.
Yeah, he's the only coffee.
I love you for that.
Even though, now and again, I dabble in a few other roasters, but consistently, even when we got here, you brought down how many bags? Like 10 bags probably of
probably
of cuvee.
Yeah.
So that's cuvee coffee out in Austin, Texas. So Mike, give us your background. So Mike's a vet, which I think is fucking awesome. He's got an incredible cold brew product. I think it's probably the best cold brew product on the market. And when I say probably, I haven't tasted better up to this point. So
Thanks,
fucking
man.
phenomenal.
I appreciate that.
And your coffee's not too bad too, man. I like it too.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's good.
give us your bio.
Short, brief bio. Was kind of a dirtbag in high school. Didn't know what to do, so
Like all of
obviously,
us.
joined the Navy. Spent 4 years there trying to get into the Naval Academy, and through that series of events ended up at the Merchant Marine Academy, which was really cool. I felt like I accomplished something, and then failed out of that. Yeah, and then in 1998, man, got introduced to coffee roasting. I was in the telecom business before. Mm-hmm. And when that whole, I got introduced to coffee roasting, so I roast as a hobby, much like you. And
What'd you start on? What kind of a roaster did you start on?
A 10-kilo Semiac.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay. That's beyond a hobby though. 10 kilos like beyond fucking hobby.
Yeah, so the backstory on that was I was selling fiber optic cable during the .com boom. So obviously I was making good money.
Right.
So when I got introduced to coffee roasting through Carl Staub, he was like, "Hey, check this out." And I was like, "Oh, I got to get a coffee roaster. What should I get?" He goes, "Well, I'm selling this one. So $10,000 to buy a 10-kilo Samiac and start roasting coffee as a hobby." That's how it all started.
Which you still have, by the way, right?
I do.
Yep. I've been up there. I've seen it.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Isn't
pretty
it cool?
fucking cool.
Yeah.
And Carl, so give him the backstory on Carl too, because he's got a cool backstory.
He's got a great backstory. So Carl, I call him Uncle Carl. I've always called him Uncle Carl. He's actually my dad's cousin, so I guess that makes him my second cousin. Or
close enough.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, man, when I remember him growing up, he was a short order cook, and he's an electrical engineer by training, and he was making this badass stereo equipment, and he had this little house in Carson City, and when he would turn on all his amplifiers, the lights in his house would dim, and I thought it was the coolest shit in the world, man. Anyway, but yeah, so he owns a company called Agtron, and Agtron makes food analyzation equipment.
Right.
And he took all of that technology that they use for, extruded snacks and flour and nuts and vegetables and everything, and he turned it towards coffee. And the Agtron Coffee Roast Analyzer, Agtron is the international industry standard for roast classification. So, he's a pretty big deal, man.
He is a big deal. Like he's a super big deal. And the Agtron, for those of you that are interested and want to geek out, and maybe this is the first time you've ever heard of this thing, I would imagine there's probably a ton of people. Get on their website and check it out. It's really cool. We use an Agtron and a Color Track. We use both. Both. But Carl's like super, he's like one of those guys that's just like a super fucking cool, eccentric guy. The first time I met him, he was like, "Man, we could take the truck and like jump it into the desert. I got a bunch of stuff we could blow up." And I was like, "Yeah, I like you a lot, man." Like, yeah. And this was at SCA in Seattle. So it's like, around a bunch of people that you shouldn't be talking about, like jumping 4x4s and blowing stuff up.
Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Agtron, Carl, if you're interested, you can go check that out. But keep on the cuvee track because this is super interesting.
Yeah. Carl introduced me to coffee roasting, came back, started roasting coffee as a hobby. It was a high school buddy of mine and I were working for his dad, selling fiber optic cable. We started selling coffee to friends and family. I was really into it. I was sourcing the coffee and roasting a lot of the coffee. And then the whole .com implosion happened. And man, I hated my job anyway, the telecom job. And I was like, I'm just going to keep selling coffee. I was pounding the pavement in Houston, doing taste tests with everybody.
Right.
And this is 1998 or, like 1998. And this is or 2000, I guess, is when the bubble burst. But you'll appreciate this. I'm going into restaurants and they're like, well, yeah, your coffee tastes way better than what I'm buying, but it's 50 cents a pound more. So you can't buy it. And that's when we were still wholesaling coffee for like $5 a pound.
Right.
Specialty coffee, yeah.
Holy cow.
So I was fantastically unsuccessful at building my coffee roasting business back then.
Was it the same name or did you have a different name under it?
It was called Capital Coffee.
Okay.
We had one blend, and it was called Espresso Cuvée.
Okay.
Right?
And what was the blend? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I totally remember. It was it was Brazil, Indonesia. This is old style, Seattle style espresso.
Yeah.
So Brazil, Indonesia. It was some sort of central, probably a Costa, and then a natural Ethiopia.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and
cool.
it was like just right at that second crack, so it was a little bit smoky and deep, and when you added milk to it, it tasted like chocolate milk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know that espresso.
Oh yeah. I'm still a fan of that espresso. Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, it was 10 months. This is terrible, man. So we had a new baby, Rochelle and I. Rochelle had a new baby, and then I was obviously part of that as the dad.
You were watching.
Yeah, I was watching.
You were watching it. Yep.
I was 10 months in, man, and hadn't sold a fucking thing in coffee, right?
Wow.
And Rochelle says, hey, when I put Connor to bed tonight, we need to sit down and talk. I said, okay. And we sit down at the table, and she looks me right in the eye, and she says, we have enough money to pay bills for one more month, and then we're broke. Oof. And I was like, damn, all right. I get up the next morning, and as an entrepreneur, you can appreciate this. I put on my smile, and I walk into a coffee shop, and I go, hey, man, to the kid behind the counter, whose coffee do you buy? And he looks at me like I'm a dumbass, and he goes, Diedrich Coffee. We're a franchise out of California.
Oh, shit.
I was like, damn it. So anyway, I'm walking out of there with my tail between my legs, and this dude says, hey, I got a question for you. Here's my home number. Can you call me tonight? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I call him. Guy's name was Ben. Ben says, hey, I couldn't talk. I'm leaving Diedrich because I'm starting my own coffee shop. I've got a lease space and everything. And I'm thinking, sweet, first wholesale customer. He goes, I want to buy the same espresso machine that they have. Oh, shit. It was a La Marzocco espresso machine.
Oh yeah, which one? The Linea 3?
The Linea.
Yeah.
And he goes, can you get it for me? I go, of course I can get it for you. I hang up the phone. I'm like, holy shit, how the hell am I going to get this espresso machine for this guy? I call up Joe Monahan, who was the president of ESI at the time, La Marzocco. And I say, hey, Joe, remember me? Carl's nephew? And he's like, yeah, I remember you, Mike. Do me a favor. We'll sell you an espresso machine. No sweat. Just don't call me anymore. We're hiring a regional manager. She's based in Atlanta, and that's who you work with from now on. And I go, cool. Have you given her the job yet? And he says, no. I said, I'll take it. He said, what do you mean? I said, I haven't had a paycheck in 10 months. I'm about to be broke. I'll take the job. I don't care what it pays. He was like, oh, okay, thanks for calling, Mike. Click. Oh, shit. So then the next day, I call him in the morning. I go, hey, Joe, this is Mike. I just want you to know I'm ready to start whenever you are. And literally for like the next 7 days, I called him every morning just telling him I was ready to start. And finally, he was like, I think we should bring this guy up to Seattle and interview him. So they brought me up. They ended up hiring me. And the crazy thing is, man, at my 1-year review, when we sat down, he goes, do you remember that day you called me to buy an espresso machine? And I was like, yeah, of course I remember that day. He goes, I was literally at my desk typing up the offer letter to the girl we interviewed. And I decided to hold it to see how long she would take to follow up after her interview. And she never followed up after her interview, which is how I ended up getting that job.
Holy shit.
Wow.
So you go to work for La Marzocco. What year was that?
2001.
Okay. And then did you move to Seattle or?
No. So my territory was Texas, Oklahoma, over to North Carolina and Florida. Mm-hmm. So this is great, though. They brought me up to Seattle. And I thought I was hot shit, man. Knew everything about coffee. You know, I got my espresso cuvee. I'm the espresso king. I get up to Seattle and just realized I didn't know dick about coffee, right? Nothing.
God,
so
that's awesome.
That's awful.
Awesome.
It's
and
awesome. Awful. Yeah.
It was so humbling, man, but it was the best thing that could have happened to me, right? I got to learn from some of the most amazing people in espresso. I mean, you know, Kent and Joe are like founders of espresso. I mean, these guys pioneered espresso up in Seattle way back before it was anything popular. And I mean, they were my bosses.
Where were they buying coffee back then? Do you remember?
Oh, when they were doing espresso?
Yeah.
Man, I don't. I have no idea.
No worries.
Yeah. I do know that Joe had a really good relationship with Cafe Vita.
Oh, right.
And that was one of the first shops he took me to. And I took a sip of espresso, and I have had very few coffee moments in my life. Mm-hmm. That one I remember vividly, man. That shot of espresso just sticks in my mind like one of the most amazing memories I've ever had.
Damn.
Yeah, it was Vivace for me. So I think we talked about it.
Yep.
It's like,
yeah,
Cafe Vita and Vivace's like, Vita's like on Capitol Hill. Do you remember what's that? Is that
Queen Anne?
But what's the road that goes up? It doesn't matter. But like literally, his little cart was like right around the corner.
Yeah.
On like Broadway, I think.
Yep.
And yeah, like probably 2-3 blocks away, I would imagine, from Vita. And were they using La Marzocco back then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Because they're using God, what's that fucking machine that they're using now? It's that one out of like
Seattle or
Cafe Vita's using that like crazy looking espresso machine now. I forget what the name of it is.
Is it Slayer?
No, it's made out of like Denmark or something. It looks like a fucking race car. It's super cool looking, man. I know you would know it.
It's
but
one
I
of
can't
those
remember.
K's Vanderweiss
I think so.
machines.
Yeah. It's badass. It's super cool looking.
They're
man.
awesome.
Yeah.
I got if you dig espresso machines, my last trip up to Seattle, I made this video with Kent. So he has an espresso machine collection.
I watched it.
Okay,
yeah. Watch it. Yeah.
And he has one of the original K's machines.
Really?
Like it's the size of this table, man. It's freaking huge. It is cool.
Like that's one of the things with like espresso machines. If you know like 1,000 times more than me about espresso machines, I'm just like a guy that likes to look at them and touch them and stuff. But like when you see a really cool looking espresso machine, it like fucking blows you away. Like Slayer, when you first see that machine, you're like, oh my gosh, that thing is fucking badass.
Yep.
Then if you work on it every day, you know, because
that's what you do.
Yeah. So you go to work for La Marzocco.
Yep.
How long were you with them?
5 years, 01 to 06. Yep.
All right. And then 06, what'd you do?
Yeah, so this was really serendipitous, man. My side hustle was roasting coffee, and everybody knew it. My bosses knew it, and actually it was to my advantage because all of our resellers were coffee roasters.
Right.
So I would go visit them, and I would geek out on coffee with them, right? And then it'd be, by the way, these are the espresso machines that I sell.
Right.
So since there were a lot of connections and I had a lot of great customers, I sold a decent amount of espresso machines. And then I think just because I was doing so much in the industry, especially coffee industry, I started selling some coffee. So I'm selling more machines. I'm selling more coffee. So my weekend job became like a night weekend job. Wow. Then became like, oh shit, I got to roast coffee this Tuesday instead of selling espresso machines. Started feeling guilty, and obviously wasn't doing either job really well. So I ended up resigning, I should say, December 31st, 2006.
Okay.
Yep, from La Marzocco, and then went full time into Cuvée.
How did you come up with that name? So
This goes back to Carl.
Right.
So aside from introducing me to coffee, he introduced me to wine. And I think you already know this, man. At his house, he's got like a 3,000 bottle wine cellar in his house. Yeah. So he knows a lot about wine. And since we were calling, my partner Patrick and I, but we started the company together. We were calling our espresso cuvee. When we parted ways, you know, when the whole technology industry collapsed, I was like, fuck this job. I'm going to go roast coffee. And Patrick was like, I'm going to feed my family, so I'm getting another job. So we parted ways. And I changed the name of the company to Cuvée Coffee. But to answer your question, Cuvée, like champagne making, there's always a spot on the vineyard where the grapes are superior, right? There's a microclimate difference, or there's a soil difference, or whatever it is. And so the vineyard will take those grapes and they'll press them, and they'll use the juice from the first press only, and then bottle it, and that's their Cuvée champagne offering.
Okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
I know, isn't that cool?
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah,
I heard that this morning.
Yeah, I've never known that. I've never asked that. I always thought it was like,
Coffee related.
yeah, I knew. I didn't think it was coffee related. I thought it was like a French name that he was like really. He's like, I'm French. No,
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
which is good because, I mean, there's nothing elitist about a French word.
No,
So
Not at all.
we never had to
Nothing.
battle any of that.
Parisians are not like dicks whatsoever. You don't have to worry about that.
Nothing at all.
So Cuvé's been around since
98.
98.
Yeah.
You've been full time in Cuvée since 06.
2007, January 1, 2007.
January 7, or January 1st, 2007.
Yep.
And then how long did it take you to open up your first shop?
That shop has been open. We just celebrated our 4th anniversary.
Okay. Wow.
So
Yeah.
whatever that math
What is it?
2008? 16 years.
7 years before you opened up your first shop after roasting coffee. Does that sound about right? 2014?
Yeah.
14.
Okay.
So that would be 16 years since inception.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody told me we were going to be
7
doing math.
Yeah.
I know, right? I'm forcing you guys
Yep.
to do math.
No, we
Like,
should
I
probably-
just drank some cold brew, so I'm fine.
Yeah, we should probably stop.
What do you guys want to do? Let's fucking bust out the whiteboard.
That's awesome.
A lot of guys think so. I get this question. I get this question all the time. They think that transitioning employment, like I'm leaving military life, or I'm leaving one job to start my own business. There is a common misconception out there that running your own business is easier,
Right.
than working for somebody else.
You're so lucky you don't have to answer to anybody.
Yeah. So talk about that for just a couple minutes, because I think that it's important to get the perspective of, and I hate the word grind. I fucking hate it. Like, it's been like completely over propagated to the point of just
Sure.
like, you got a bunch of guys that are like, dude, I work like 3 hours a day. I'm like grinding so hard, Like, what? Get the fuck out of here.
How's that even possible?
Like, I only slept that much last night. Like, get out of here, dude. What are you doing?
Right.
So what's that journey like for you? And I guess, tell us about the trials, other than you just talked about how you were going to be broke literally the next month,
Yep.
transitioning to Marzocco, now transitioning into your own business. What did that feel like? What were some of the things that you were encountering?
At the beginning, obviously it's liberating because
Right.
you declare yourself unemployable and, you start this new chapter. But honestly, man, I tell everybody this all the time. The first 11 years sucked hard, really, really bad. It was brutal. So trying to sell specialty coffee in the state of Texas, 5-8 years before it was even anything.
Right.
It was brutal. But the good news is I'm not particularly intelligent. So I just kept doing it, knowing or thinking that at some point it would work if I just kept working hard enough. But unlike you, I'm not a really savvy business guy like you are, right? So if I could go back in time, I think a little more planning would probably do well for me. But also like you, man, I just hustled. I hustled and
Right.
hustled and hustled and just never gave up and believed in what I was doing and that it would work. And then adjusted, kept working, adjusted, kept working, trying to figure out. And honestly, man, I feel like we still haven't hit our stride 20 years later.
Yeah, I feel that exact same way. I mean, this is only 5 years old, so it's not comparable in some ways. But I think that there's a ton of guys out there that are like, man, I'm going to be, emancipated. I'm going to work for myself.
Yeah.
Okay, but here are all the things that you need to know before going into business for yourself. You will be bankrupt.
Yeah.
Like when I say it might not be definable by the U.S. government bankrupt, but you will have no money.
Yep.
You have to be used to living literally not paycheck to paycheck, because there is no such thing as a paycheck.
Right.
You have to get used to living on the money that you create. It's much like hunter-gatherer when I say that. It's much like a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, where I would mount up and I still do, I still do. Like, I mount up every day going like, it's time to kill for the family.
Yep.
That's what I'm doing. And it's fucking brutal.
Yep.
For sure.
To put it in perspective, I don't, this isn't something I usually share, publicly with people that I don't know. But you'll appreciate this. Up until April of last year, I was the lowest paid employee at the company.
Right.
So 19 years into building this company, the delivery driver made more money than I did. But that's
how you do
that's
it.
just part of the deal. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, and even when I look at my payroll right now, and I look at it at 130 people,
Yeah.
and I start getting like just weighed down. I like look at it, I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
The nice thing is, like, psychologically, even though I am the one of the lowest paid executives, I should say,
Right.
probably the lowest paid executive. At this point, I also know I'm the first that won't get paid.
Right.
Like, I'm the very first person that won't get
100%.
paid.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So if I don't meet my monthly sales goals, if we run out of money, if we have to buy something, I'm getting ready to build I'm getting ready to expand my business and build the interior of this building.
Yep.
And psychologically, I have to prepare myself now. I'm saying, okay, well, things are going to get tight, and I'm the first one that won't eat. And that's kind of the thing in the military too. It's like the leaders eat last, right?
Yep. Right.
And I've had, a good year now where I've been able to pay myself, like, not, and when I say that, it's like not even, I'm not compensating myself to the degree of a CEO would be
Right.
compensated for
Right.
running a company of this size.
Right.
Not even close.
Yep.
But we can just now not worry about the mortgage.
Right.
Like that's where we're at psychologically, where we've had like 6 months, 8 months of reprieve where we've been like, we don't have to worry about the mortgage.
It's huge, man.
Now I'm getting ready to
So
like
huge.
tighten up my belt and go, oh, fuck, here we go again, man. Let's
Yep.
go.
Yep.
And that's like expanding your business or, and hopefully creating, I guess, the foundation to having something that will be here for decades. It's the CEO, founder, owners that always, they are the last to eat.
Yep.
Now, the businesses that are the first to eat, when it's the founder, owner, CEO, and he's the first to eat, those are the guys that don't last.
Don't last.
They don't last.
Nope.
So true.
They'll go from company to company to company to company. Yeah.
They're gonna step over dollars to pick up dimes all day long.
Yep.
And that's the word of
perfect
advice is like, prepare yourself psychologically to be poor. Prepare yourself psychologically to work harder than you've ever worked in your life,
Agreed.
with zero light at the end of the tunnel, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you're working in the mine, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yep.
When there is light at the end of the tunnel, expect that light to fucking go away in a fraction of a second, because the mine can fucking collapse at any point in time.
Right.
I think it's super important for guys to understand this, the psychological effects of running your own business. And you've been at this now for 20 years.
Right.
How much stress has this caused, just on you and your family?
That's a good question, man. I for myself personally, I don't experience stress a lot.
Right.
So, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
The downside to that is when I do, I'm a miserable wreck.
Right.
Right. Because I don't know how to handle it. But yeah, it's. I mean, look, man, and you know this, and anybody who is building a business and really investing in it, it's not easy because your spouse is your rock a lot of times. They're your biggest champion, and man, when all of a sudden they start questioning what you're doing and wondering, only because they're stressed or they're scared, not that they don't believe in you. Man, that's tough. That can take its toll.
Yeah, I remember my wife. I came to bed late one night. It was like around 11, and she rolled over. She's like, "Well, how much more coffee do you have to roast?" And I was like, "I don't know, like not like 100 pounds, a couple 100 pounds maybe."
Right.
Well, why the fuck are you going to bed? She literally put her foot against my back and pushed me out of the bed. And I'm like, fuck, man, okay.
Give me a break.
Got it. Like, why the fuck are you coming to bed?
Right.
And
That is awesome.
that point forward, I also learned I have to lie to my wife when I want to sleep.
That's true.
That's true too. Like, this is the only time I will ever, I will say, it is good to not, withhold any information. This is the only time I will ever say it is what I've done in my life, especially with my family, is my kids need a safe sanctuary away from the chaos that is business.
Yeah.
They need to be protected in an ecosystem that is has a moat around it, and it's a fucking, a castle. And for me, psychologically, I've had to really dig the moat around my family to make sure that they don't feel the day-to-day stress. So every day when I come home, I take a deep breath.
Yep.
Regardless of what's happening in my life, regardless of what's going on, I take a deep breath, put a fucking smile on my face, and I come through the door and I'm like, "Hey, what's up, you guys? What are you guys doing?" Because if you start spreading the psychology of the stress of your business into your fucking home life, may this be a really good lesson and warning. Do not fucking do that.
Right.
So true.
It's a good point. It's a very valid point. Yeah. It's, so to build on, what you were saying and going back to, you're right, man. When somebody starts questioning, and the wife is like, "Hey, was this the right decision?" Absolutely. Next week is, this big sale's coming through next week, or, this thing's going to happen, or that, it's always you got to be positive, even when you're feeling like questioning yourself and doubting yourself.
Well, and it helps, I think, too. And that's where it's really important with your partner, your wife or your husband or whomever it is. It really does help, I think, to have to do that psychologically, even for you. You got to come home and be your cheerleader for yourself and your wife to make sure that she believes in the dream, you believe in the dream, everybody believes in the dream.
Yeah.
But then you can reinforce it, you can hear it out loud, even if there's a fucking doubt in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
At
Never
least
let that
you're
out.
saying it and you're going, "Yeah, I'm saying it today.
I'm good enough. I'm strong
Smart.
enough. I'm smart. Yeah.
Doggone it, people like me.
I think I can. I think I can. Man. Yep. You hit the nail right on the head, man. That's very good advice.
Well, and I guess now, so we'll turn the page from the Debbie Downer stuff and say, now the cool shit about owning your own business. I think that this is just as important to get, both sides of the coin. Is one, you get the negative aspects, but two, with the lows, you get the highs.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So
When
what
things
are the
good, they're
big
great.
things that have only happened in your life because of your business?
I would say there's a couple things. One is, and you talked about this recently on a podcast, is the ability and responsibility to your staff, right? To all your team members. And I've learned I am not a natural born leader at all. I've been working really hard to be a good leader. And I've learned that, man, you know, we've got our team members' lives in our hands, and man, when we can make a positive impact in their life, when I can make a positive impact in their life, it's powerful. It's super powerful. When people come to work glad to come to work,
Right.
that is a really good feeling. When people come to work, you know, like, fuck this place, man, that's a really bad feeling, and that means that I have done something terribly wrong. So I think that's huge. The other one, man, building this business, once again, I didn't go to college. I didn't take business classes or anything like that. So there was a period of time where I sat down with other entrepreneurs and just asked them questions and tried to learn, pick their brain. And there were a lot of really great people who invested time in me that didn't need to invest time in me. And so now when another entrepreneur calls, and, you know, this just happened yesterday, and says, hey, look, I've got some questions for you. You know, I'm thinking about doing something with my business. You know, can we talk? And I sit down and talk with them, and you know, they have light bulb moments, or they're like, man, that's awesome. I can't believe, you know, oh, that's such great advice, or this is amazing. And walking away and knowing that, man, you know, like the positive impact that people have made on my life and my business by investing their time, I got to do the exact same thing. And I feel like it's kind of my responsibility to do that. Right. So that's another good one. Mm-hmm. You know, eating steak and lobster every night's not bad too.
I've been to your house. You're not doing that. Beer and pizza.
Yeah. I got a boat.
Yeah.
There's that. Yeah.
Well, and I suppose, you know, with your family and having because your business is basically co-located at your house.
It is, yeah.
So your life and your business are basically tied together, one and the same.
Yep.
You know, I think that there's a significant amount of value for guys to glean some information about that too. So when you built your shop, you started roasting coffee, and your house was literally right next door to your shop.
Yep.
Would you suggest that as a good way to start your business, or?
It has pluses and minuses.
Yeah. What are those?
Well, the commute doesn't suck.
Commute's awesome.
The commute is good. Yeah. You know, I think the pluses outweigh the minuses, but the one minus is that you can't get away from work ever, even if you want to.
Yeah.
And man, I don't care how hard you work. Every once in a while, you have to unplug at some point. You know, I know you like to go deep in the woods and disappear off the grid for weeks at a time.
Doesn't happen enough. I'm getting super squirrely right now.
But yeah, I would highly recommend it. Look, I started roasting coffee in my garage in Houston, right? And I had a one group linea in my kitchen on my counter.
Right.
And I used to bring people over that were potential wholesale customers, or even retail customers. They just want to buy a 1 pound bag of coffee.
Right.
And I would walk them into the garage, show them the roaster, you know, show them this pile of 5 bags of green coffee or whatever. And then I'd take them into my kitchen and make them a cappuccino or something. And it was years later that I actually realized I was bringing strangers into my house where my wife and child, you know, baby were. What the hell was I thinking? So use a little discretion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the pluses definitely outweigh the minuses. And I think if you can minimize your overhead when you're starting a business, it's gold. Yeah.
And I would second that. You know, I was roasting in my garage for, the first year. And the same thing. I had a little single group espresso machine in my basement.
Yeah.
And dudes come over, and I had all the boxes, all the t-shirts. I had everything in the basement of my house, and it was on racks and hangers and scales for, you know, weighing the box so I could put the U.S. Postal, sticker on the box to take, and I would take it to the post office every morning on my way to my other job.
Wow.
And I would offload the post office. Finally was like, dude, you've got to use this other entrance because you can't bring all these boxes into the front door.
Right.
And that's what I was doing. I had these like big sacks, those USPS sacks of boxes with priority boxes, heaving these things in and like dropping them off.
Yep.
And, but the same thing, I would bring guys over and Drinking Bros. Like Drinking Bros would stop by and be like, dude, I want to go to Black Rifle Coffee. I'm like, it's my fucking house. He's like, come on over, man. Come on over, dude.
Yep.
I'm here. Like, I'll make you some espresso. That's fine. Sure.
That's great. Yeah.
And but as soon as I could afford, and it wasn't anything, like the first place that I went was I was sharing a shop with a lawn mowing service, a de-icing service. Like we had, and it was like a 15,000 square foot shop.
Wow.
And the lawnmowers and all the fucking bullshit was right next to my office. And I just needed like an office to get out of the house because I had a newborn too.
Yeah.
So like I couldn't sleep. I would go to bed and then the kids would start, crying like newborns do.
Yep.
So then I would be up and I had to like carve out that $800. And I remember exactly because it was like, man, $800 a month, but I think I can get more work done.
Yep.
And I just needed my own office away from the roaster.
Right.
Just so I could like work without being interrupted, without like a 1-year-old tugging on my pant leg or something like that. But it took me a while. It took me almost a year to get to the point where I could take $800, buy an office offsite, and that's where all I did was just bundle packages and do customer service.
Yep.
That's like all I did.
Yep.
But I would agree with you. It was a great commute.
Well, I've actually gone through the gamut. So started roasting in the garage like you.
Yeah.
And then in Houston, I rented this crappy little 1,500 square foot warehouse. And there was a roofing company on one side, a window tinting company on the other.
Nice.
So, and I thought that was big time, right?
Yeah.
And I had one employee, so it was just me and one other person. So I had to drive to work. It was probably a 20-minute drive or whatever.
Right.
But I enjoyed going to the office and working. And then when we moved the business to Austin, we built that warehouse behind our house, and I gotta say, I like it better than having to go to an office.
I would say that especially your setup, it's really nice.
Yeah, it's good.
It is nice.
Yeah.
Do you invite people out there? By the way, I was going to ask you. Can people stop
just
in?
You, man.
Just me.
Just you and your family. That's it.
All
Yep.
right.
You're the only one.
Because you do have like you do have your lab that's set up there.
Yes.
And you do have employees.
Yeah.
Can people stop in and buy coffee there, or do you just direct them all to the shop downtown?
We try to direct them to the shop. We do have a handful. You know where we live.
Yeah.
You've been there. It's not like we have a ton of neighbors, but we do have a handful of neighbors that we let them order coffee from us and they come and pick it up.
Okay.
But we don't really do tours or anything like that. We used to, and it was great. But then we got to the point where it was just really disruptive.
Right.
Yeah. So we'd prefer to direct them to either online or the shop.
Yeah, and the shop's really cool. I mean, and I would talk about opening the shop too. So, kind of that whole endeavor, because I think that's super interesting. You go from roasting coffee to now you're going into retail, which I know, that's totally different animal.
Oh, man, two totally separate businesses. Yeah.
So tell us about that adventure, man, and just like finding the location and building it out and your cost expectations and things like that going into it, the things that you wish you would have known.
It's so funny. When I was selling espresso machines, I worked with a lot of coffee shop entrepreneurs and literally was involved in helping people lay out their bar and electric and plumbing. And I mean, hundreds of people over the course of 5 years. I must have had some sort of traumatic brain trauma at some point, because the amount of things that I forgot when we were doing our shop, I was like, why didn't I put filtered water here in this bar that we chiseled up the concrete to run water to? How did I not make that filtered water? And now what do I do?
Yeah, what'd you do? Like, What happened?
We just don't use filtered water, man. No,
Seriously? No, I was gonna say, like,
no,
especially in Austin.
Yeah.
Like,
You just have to, instead of using the big giant system that I invested all this money in,
Right.
I have to put, another system, expensive system under the counter
Got
to
it.
run the equipment.
like a 3-phase, or are you doing RO underneath?
RO.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, man, our TDS is off the charts in Austin.
Right.
And you guys here,
Yeah. I have RO in my house, by
yeah,
the way. So
super aggressive water here.
It's super aggressive.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Man, it was really cool. East Austin, it was a little bit sketchy, but then the guy who started Home Slice Pizza down on South Congress, I brought him over and I said, "Hey, Joseph, you're a successful retailer. What do you think of this place?" And so we walked around the neighborhood, and we're sitting on the front porch drinking a beer. And he goes, "Man, this reminds me of South Congress when we signed the lease for Home Slice." And this is before South Congress was South Congress, right?
Wow.
And I was like, "Give me the lease. I'm signing it." So we did. Scary.
Yeah, because how long was the lease?
5 years.
Yeah. So
Yep.
just to give people a heads up, when you're going to lease a piece of property, 3 to 5, those are the minimums, and
Yeah.
typically it's 5.
Yeah. In Austin, if you get anything less than 5,
Yeah.
you're lucky.
Right.
So we signed the lease. The price per square foot was a little less than, standard Austin prices because
Right.
there was nothing there. The great news is, man, we instantly became this destination.
Yeah.
So the first 3 years, man, sales were just tick, 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 up, 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 up. And then somebody decided that East Austin was cool, and all the cranes moved in, and all the condos are being built, and all the hotels are being built. And I came to the shop literally yesterday, and the road was closed to get to the coffee bar. Right, I couldn't even get there. I had to loop around, take
Right.
another road, and so we've taken a bath, man, just a beating this last year because of construction.
Yeah. I was up there a month ago, probably. Same thing. Like, I had to do some weird
It's crazy.
route around to get in.
traffic.
Yep.
But it's a fantastic space. How big is it?
It's about 2,000 square feet total, including
Okay.
bathrooms. Yeah.
And if you guys are ever in the Austin area, like, I would highly recommend it because it's fucking awesome. It's a super cool coffee shop. Plus they serve beer. So,
Yeah.
morning or afternoon or both. I know when I'm up there, like, it's typically, I actually don't go to any other coffee shops up there.
Wow.
I've never been in the last probably 6 months I've been there. Excuse me. I might have went to one other place, I would say, but for the most part, that's even
awesome, man.
even if I have a meeting, I go up there. So
Well, I'm gonna have to post your picture up there and let the staff know that we got you when you come in town.
I was in there last month, and I don't know if this is the appropriate forum, but one of the baristas was wearing a Verve sweatshirt, and I was like, "You think that's okay?" She was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, all right, okay, good for you, good for you, good."
Oh man! Yeah. I'm gonna have to show you pictures when we're done. You can tell me which one it was.
Oh yeah. I was like, yeah, "Okay, all right, cool, all right, good for you, girl. You go, you go for it." And
Because that's the other part of that is the personnel.
Yes, that's.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about leasing. Now let's talk about hiring and firing in the retail space.
I was super lucky because we had a core that we hired when we opened, and literally for 3 years, it was the same core staff. One person changed places.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's tough though. I mean, you know how it is. People that work in production, making the product, and people who work, as baristas behind the counter, they're usually two very, very different people.
Very different.
Very different.
Yep.
So balancing that is tough, man.
Yeah.
Knowing how to handle, talk to, hold accountable those different people, motivate. It's fucking challenging. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus you have compliance issues, right? So you have different compliance issues
Yeah.
with not only the city, the state, and the Fed compliance issues,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So when you're looking at these things, it's not only like hiring the people, hiring the right people, hiring the right managers, and then making sure you're in compliance, making sure that like your hours, just your hours. I had a wine bar with a group of friends up in Idaho for a while.
Right.
And we started opening earlier. We were going to do a lunch because we were like, oh, well, you know, this will be great. And we were like, started looking at the P&Ls. We're like, fuck, we're losing money. Like we opened up earlier to accommodate lunch thinking, oh, we'll make more money. No, we were losing money by opening up more hours and selling more shit. We just weren't selling enough to cover the man hours in order to have the, not only that, I mean, the cleaning, the everything that goes into serving more food, more wine, and nobody was drinking wine. That's the problem. Is at lunch, nobody was drinking wine. So
that could be a problem.
That was a problem. We were looking at the numbers from the evening going, these are great. Let's fucking open up lunch.
Yeah.
Lunch, margin on food, not the same as wine.
Nope.
Not the same.
Yep.
And huge learning curve. But then fast forward a few years later, we opened up a breakfast place, and it took 3 years to get the breakfast place in the black.
Oh,
wow.
3 fucking years.
Wow. And breakfast is kind of like the
and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing of it is the place was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Had the best food in the north, like in literally the inland northwest, probably outside of like Portland and Seattle.
Wow.
And we just could not figure it out. And but then for whatever reason, it took enough time over the course of 3 years, and we weren't losing a lot of money, but we were losing enough money to, like, it was red.
Yeah.
And, you know, red by $300-400, you know, grand here or whatever. And you're like, okay, well, it's not enough to close it down.
Right.
It's just,
it's got to change.
It's got to change. Then we're tweaking things. And, you know, we were serving Doma. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Doma, the guys out of northern Idaho. It's another coffee roaster, but not even close to, I think, the Mike or Cuvée or BlackRifle coffee. That's just my own personal perspective. But we were serving Doma, but that's where I was first roasting coffee for that my breakfast place.
Right on.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the wine bar and the breakfast place were the first places that I was able to plant the coffee. But it took 3 years.
Yep.
But then once it took, the place has been like incredible ever since. So
That's
just
awesome.
Like something shifted, and we have no idea what the fuck.
Oh, that's the worst.
We have no idea what it was. It was just enough people had eaten there over the course of 3 years, where word of mouth eventually just took, and it took really hard, and it went really fast. And it was like one Sunday to one Sunday, boom.
Damn.
It was Yelp.
Crazy.
It was Yelp, dude.
I don't even think it was Yelp. I think it was just like college, because it's a college town in northern Idaho, and fucking fantastic people up there. But anyway, retail, managing the employees, going back, thinking about it now, what would you have done differently?
So obviously I made the mistake of kind of taking multiple leaps at the same time.
Right.
So cold brew.
Yep.
You know, I jumped into that and decided to go ahead and just put my foot to the floor with that one. And then I was like, you know what? I should open a coffee shop too.
Right.
So I did both of those things at the same time. I 100% would never, ever, ever do that again.
Right.
It was a terrible idea. And you know, I'm kind of paying the price for it a little bit now, because the cold brew side of things, I'm having to scale that business, and it's going to grow exponentially. So I'm investing a lot of time there and not enough into the coffee bar.
Right.
And you know, it's hard to find, you know, the right person to manage a shop. To manage it well. They can be a great barista, they can be a great employee, they can be a great teammate, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're a great manager. And so finding that really great manager and investing in them from the beginning, instead of being like, okay, well, I think you have the ability to manage you, so go ahead and do it, and then you know, I'll just come and visit you every week and we'll go over some stuff. I definitely would probably have invested in, recruiting somebody that's what they do is manage retail, and
right.
they know all the ins and outs. Because I don't know dick about managing retail.
Yeah. Well, did Tom help out with that in the Texas Coffee School? Did he
No.
help out with the
You know what?
cuvee?
That might have been a good idea too, man.
Right.
I mean, Tom has done a lot for coffee shop entrepreneurs. He's a smart dude. Shout out to Texas Coffee School.
Awesome guy.
Yep. Love Tom. And you know what? I probably should have recruited somebody like that. Yeah. And this is from somebody who's been doing coffee 16 years at the time.
Right.
Humbling myself and saying, you know what? Maybe I do need somebody else's input and expertise. Might have been a good idea.
I've actually got a couple guys up there right now going through barista
badass.
school. Yeah. Tom's awesome. Yeah, just that's Texas Coffee School that we're talking about. It's up in Arlington, which is between Fort Worth and Dallas. Fantastic shop up there, and he's got probably one of the best curriculums, I think, if not the best curriculum in the States.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. When it comes to the business side of coffee, the coffee side of coffee,
right.
I mean, he's got it all covered, man. He's done a great job, man. He's another one that he's got a great story of of really pinching pennies and donating plasma for money and keep the lights on. And,
yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I love talking to him on because he's like, it's so fresh with him. He's like, oh yeah, man, like grind isn't the appropriate word.
No.
Like I told somebody the other day, they were asking me, I was at a veteran entrepreneur event here in San Antonio, and they're like, well, tell us what the experience was like, and compare it to your military. And I was like, I would go to Special Forces assessment and selection for a year straight before I started BlackRifle Coffee again.
Yeah.
I would go to SFAS for a fucking year.
Yeah.
And people were like, really? That was like 23 days. Like you would do that 12 months in a row. It's like in a fucking heartbeat, it wouldn't even be a question. There wouldn't even be a question. Wouldn't even be a question.
Yeah.
There was no stress compared to this.
No.
Like zero stress.
No.
I'm like, dude, all I got to do is like lift heavy things and fucking land nav all night long and get yelled at now and again. Do some log PT.
Easy,
Fuck,
man.
are you kidding me? Like, dude, yeah, every day,
I could
no problem.
Yes.
Sit in your garage with 30 cents in your bank account with nothing left to sell and a brand new kid and a wife and do that like sustained like every day and get up and fucking try to motivate yourself with nobody like yelling at you, telling you to pick up the
Right?
log or do whatever the fuck it is, like psychologically 10 times harder.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Well,
10 times harder.
Wow.
couldn't agree with you more, man. Could not agree with you more.
Like I look at SFAS, I'm like, dude, that would be a vacation. It'd be like a little camping trip. Kidding me?
Everybody's looking at you like, why is he smiling all the time?
Yeah, but like,
you
fuck.
have no idea. You have no idea.
Because I'm not starting a business.
Start your own business with no fucking money, like no clue what you're doing, like dumb as fuck.
Yep.
I was carrying a gun for a living, for Christ's sake. I wasn't even in the. I was like roast. I was a hobby roaster.
Yeah.
I loved roasting coffee. That roasted for a couple fucking people at a restaurant and whatever. And I'm like. And then go, yeah, I think I can roast some coffee.
Yeah,
the
man.
arrogance in that fucking assumption is infinite. Now, carry a log a couple miles. Fuck yeah, dude. Kidding me? Put that thing on my back.
Yep.
Not a problem.
Yep.
I'm going to
Easy
sleep well
day.
tonight.
Yep.
Dude, what are you going to give me? 6 hours of sleep? Get the fuck out of here. I'll do that. 6 hours?
That's crazy talk.
Dude, I wake up in the morning now and I'm like, dude, I got 6.5 hours of sleep last night. Holy shit. I'm a new man. I'm rejuvenated.
Not even fair. It's not even fair. It's not even fair.
Yeah.
So now you've got your coffee shop in Austin. You've got cold brew. I think it's, for a lack of a better term, it's just really growing exponentially. It's blowing up. Where are you at? How many states right now do you have cold brew products?
3.
Yep.
Texas, Colorado, and just found out we're going into Portland.
And where at?
Safeway.
Safeway.
Safeway in Colorado, Safeway in Portland. Man, I've been all over. I've been, down these last few months have been sales travel, trying to get in every line review, every grocery store.
Right.
So I've been in Florida. I've been in Northern California, Southern California, Seattle, Portland, Colorado, Baltimore. But yeah, just, all over visiting with buyers.
Right.
And so another shift, this is cold brewed coffee. However, I'm now in the beverage industry too. Right. So totally different from the coffee industry.
Wow.
So just to go ahead and shove another dagger in my eye. Right. Yeah.
Here, learn this real fast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a crash course. So yeah. So basically, now, gosh, I think you're starting to scare me now. I'm starting to feel that stress because I'm actually running 3 separate businesses.
Yeah.
I just realized.
I know.
I thought it was one company. It's 3 separate businesses.
Oh my God.
Shit. Yeah. So I think the cold brew thing is, once again, like specialty coffee, we were kind of ahead of the curve. And, people say, oh, so amazing, you're first to market, you're whatever, and you're a pioneer. And it's like, yeah, that's great, except, pioneers get all the arrows and the settlers get all the land.
Yeah.
So true.
And it's so
God,
true.
that's so true.
It's really true.
I like that a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
pioneers get all the arrows, settlers get all the land.
Yep.
That's fucking great.
And it's a bloodbath, man. Fighting for shelf space in the grocery store. Oh, man, it's rough. It's rough. And then you throw in something like hemp oil.
Yeah.
Where, number one, cold brew is a little wacky. And then you throw in hemp oil and people are like, whoa, wait a minute. Can we do that? Can't we do that? Whatever. Yeah. It's, so yeah, it's a challenge.
And Whole Foods, you've got Whole Foods here in the state of Texas too, right?
We have Whole Foods. So whole bean coffee, yeah, we're in, Whole Foods and Central Market and HEB. HEB's been an amazing partner. And HEB, all 3 cold brews. So right now they just have the regular cold brew.
Right.
But hemp oil and horchata they'll have on the shelf in November, which is exciting. Whole Foods, oddly enough, not touching hemp. You would think if there was one place, yep. They're like, wait a minute, our legal team looked at this and this whole CBD thing, nope.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. New owner in town.
Yeah.
You'd think like Whole Foods would be selling weed if they could.
Yeah.
They're
Oh
like,
my
fuck
God.
it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah. New owner in town.
Yeah.
Wow. That blew
that's
me
kinda,
away.
Yeah, it is.
It blew my mind when the
What about,
buyers,
like Trader Joe's, like what do they do you
I don't know
do
any.
you talk to those guys?
I haven't. No. I've never
Trader
even
Joe's.
been in a Trader Joe's. Should I go?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go, man. 'cause
For real?
It's like a Whole Foods, but it's more economical. So
Yes.
everything's kind of the Trader Joe's
That's not saying much.
brand.
Yeah.
I think it's probably on an average you're probably going to pay like 70% of what you would at Whole Foods for
Oh,
about the
shit.
same
Dude.
for
Yeah.
about the same quality product.
That's great.
yeah.
All right. I'll definitely check it out.
And it's got kind of the same it's got about the same customer.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's probably a little bit more, I would say they're a little bit more price savvy and maybe a little bit more product conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, Whole Foods, it's like people will pay whatever. They'll be like, oh, that's organic lettuce. I can pay fucking $20 a head for it or whatever.
not?
And they don't even look at their receipt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just
Yeah.
don't give 2 shits.
Yeah.
Whereas there's a group of customers out there that want organic, they want non-GMO, they want all of those things, but they don't want to pay, with their firstborn and their fucking left pinky in
Yep.
order to eat like that. So that's how I would classify that customer.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't even know. Are they big in Texas? Do you know, Jeff?
There's one in Austin.
Is there?
Yeah.
is.
They opened it like a year ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A little bit longer than that. It's nice. It's small.
I'm gonna check it out.
I would for sure.
Yeah. Oh, the one I am excited about, and this may or may not happen, but we're engaged and presenting with Buc-ee's.
Oh shit!
way.
That
Yes.
would be fucking
That's badass.
amazing.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's
That
badass.
is awesome.
If I could stop at Buc-ee's and get me a nitro cold brew in
That's
between
huge.
cities, yeah, that'd be so good.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
like
love that.
I would absolutely do that.
Yep.
Because that's one of the biggest problems with cruising around Texas. You're like, dude, there's not a fucking good cold brew option in the gas station.
Yep.
There really isn't. Whereas I was in Boise a couple months ago. I walked into multiple gas stations in Boise and then up into a small mountain town up in McCall. They had kombucha on tap. Like, that's where they're at. They're like, Portland, fuck you. We're putting kombucha on tap, bitches.
Damn.
And you're like, dude, what the fuck is this? And they're
Awesome.
like, they got some dude that's like, looks like he's building a bike in 1842, fucking at the gas station at 7-Eleven or whatever. And you're like, you guys went like, here's hipster. You guys went like militant hipster to the right in Boise with your like fucking kombucha on tap,
That's
20 different cold brew options. You're just like,
What?
this is fucking sick. And I love it because I don't drink a lot of kombucha. I think most of it's fucking gross, but I like it in theory.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Me
if you're
too.
just going to drink beer, right? Just fucking drink beer. Go for it.
Yeah, man.
But we were drinking Bull. We were like, I'm going to get this big thing of kombucha. I'm also get like 12 cases of beer. Fuck it, you know? And, but Boise is, anyway, whatever.
I love it, man. That's
But
badass.
Texas, you go through here and you're like, cold brew options?
Yeah.
Not.
Monster.
Yeah.
Yep.
Monster Java.
You're like, and then you look at the ingredients and there's like, it has to have an accompanied pamphlet for the ingredients.
You have to sign a disclaimer.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why the can is so big.
Yeah.
So they
For
can
all the
list
little
all the
words.
ingredients. Yeah.
Yeah, because it has to be a certain size. They're just staying in compliance. We got to make this 30 ounces. Get a keg of fucking Monster
Just so that we can list all our ingredients.
with an actual sugarcane field in the can.
Oh my God.
But so cold brew in 3 states. Hopefully soon to be in Seattle area, right?
Yeah. Hopefully Seattle, all of California, northern and southern. I don't think, so the Northeast, they got weird about the hemp thing too.
So weird.
You'd think you'd be in like Burlington and all those like fucking places.
along
There
the
wouldn't
East
be an
Coast.
issue.
Yeah. Yep. You would think that was the low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm totally blown away by that.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird. Yeah. So, and then the other part is, you know how this is, man. You go and meet people and they're like, yeah, we love your product. We'd love to put it on the shelf, but you don't have any distribution in the state.
Right.
And then you go to the distributors and they're like, yeah, we love your product and we'd love to bring it in, but you don't have any shelf space.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do something. So now that we've got momentum, we've got a few wins under our belt. I think things, the snowball is rolling down the hill now. I'm not pushing it back up.
I literally gave up on grocery, not because I was like, you know what, at the end of the day, this is so much of a goat fuck for me. It's so much of a goat fuck. I was like, I'm just going to build coffee shops. It's easier for me just to like say, fuck it. I'm just going to build coffee shops because grocery is so nightmarish for me. And like talking to grocers and talking about distributors, and talking about this, I'm like, okay, whatever, man. I just don't even want to unpack it.
We should do a BlackRifle pop-up, man. We should shut the coffee bar down on East 6th for a couple days, tape up the windows and rebrand it and open it up for like a month as BlackRifle.
I would love that.
That would
dude.
freak some people out.
Like the
That'd be
hipsters
so
would be like,
awesome.
what the fuck?
I would
That
love
would be fun.
I'd be there almost every day just to watch their expressions.
You have like, there would be different forms of tattoos on the baristas. It'd be like,
Yes. Very
that
different.
person is scary a little bit.
Yeah.
Like Heather Lynn would be pulling shots, just kind of like yelling at people, like, get the fuck out of here. Hey, this isn't good service. You hurt my feelings.
Wow. That is a great idea.
That could be fun.
So one thing Mike was talking to me earlier, and I asked him, I was like, dude, tell me like CBD in coffee, because a lot of people, and to include myself, does it change the taste of the coffee first?
No, it's not a detectable change to
Right.
most people, yeah.
And I would attest to that. It doesn't even put a blip on it. If
Right.
anything, like it might even taste a little bit better. But it could be just you've tweaked the recipe. I don't know, but I thought it was really good. And then what's the health benefits in CBD?
CBD is, I think, the big one in the fitness industry. It's a natural anti-inflammatory, which is huge. So instead of taking aspirin or something like that, CBD is big. They talk about mental clarity and helping with your mood and, all those sorts of auxiliary effects that cannabidiol has. I haven't personally experienced any of the mental clarity stuff that I can tell, but I can 100% attest to, for me, man, on the physical side of things. You know, I was taking it for 90 days, right, just to see if there was a difference. And I didn't feel like, you know, my performance was enhanced or anything like that. So I stopped. I just ran out and didn't buy any. And for a month, and man, my body revolted.
Seriously?
On me. Yeah. The difference, like in recovery from workouts.
Right.
I was probably just used to it before, right? No pain, no gain mentality. Right. But then I was like, oh man, this sucks. I got to get back on the CBD for sure. So I am 100% on board and a believer and a proponent that, like from the performance side of things, from the healing side of things, and natural anti-inflammatory side of things, it's the real deal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would agree to the point where I'll try it again. I'll try the CBD again. I think last time I tried it, I might have had a bad batch or something. I don't know. I was smoking it too, which I think you're supposed to smoke it.
No, definitely needles. The best way to do it.
That's what I was doing wrong.
That's what I was doing
That's what
wrong.
I didn't do right. Okay.
Yeah. On the label, if the instructions say to pour it into a spoon and
You
then hold a
shouldn't.
lighter underneath it,
You should not
don't
do
take
that.
that CBD. That's a totally
No.
different product.
Totally different product. So now, where are you guys getting your CBD? Not like the actual manufacturer, but like how are they manufacturing it? Is it like, you know, organic, non-GMO, blah, 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 hemp?
So the company that I'm using now, no.
Okay.
They don't have those certifications. However, I am right now in testing, and they're out of California.
Okay.
Right now I'm in testing with a company out of Colorado who does have all of those certifications.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they have some patented water solubility stuff they have going on. So I'm getting ready to head up there, check out their facility and their lab, super scientific, and then their grow house and all that sort of stuff, which will be super interesting. Yeah, you should come along, man.
I
Have
will.
a good time.
How much CBD is in a can?
10 milligrams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And then what's a can typically go for?
$3.99.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and don't get me wrong, this isn't a commercial for Cuvée. It's just a matter of like, you know, educating people on what products are out there. I like 100%, and I like, you know, we're not sponsored by Mike, so like this is a product I drink. Like I drink his cold brew because it's sold here. It's sold at HEBs.
Yep.
You know, outside of my own coffee, like I drink Cuvée coffee. That's what I drink.
Yeah, man. And once again, so I was telling Jeff this on the drive over, you know, kudos to you because you're just a good dude and a solid dude and a genuine guy. And the fact that, you know, you would give me a platform on your podcast, you know, to come in here, even though, you know, I'm also a coffee roasting company. It just speaks volumes to who you are. And I can't thank you enough, man.
Oh, of course. And that's the thing for me, man. Like, you know, the veteran entrepreneur space is small, right? Yep. And then veteran coffee entrepreneur space is small. And the other thing is great coffee roasters, like guys that actually know how to roast coffee, that have a great product. Those are small.
Yeah.
It's a small group of people. And so when you have guys that have a high quality product, they care about it, because there are a ton of guys out there and they just like slap a label on a product. They don't know anything about it.
Right.
You know, they're using a co-packer, they're using some other fucking asshole to do it. There's like no authenticity in that.
Right.
There's zero authenticity. They have zero regard. And for me, like, I have a high regard for the product. I really appreciate coffee, and coffee, I think coffee heads appreciate other coffee heads.
Oh yeah.
Right?
100%.
And this is a value proposition for the people that listen to the podcast, which is people should know your entrepreneurial journey. They should know about your product. And I think that, and if they're in Austin, they should absolutely fucking go and go to your coffee shop. Absolutely.
Thanks, man.
And that goes to say, like, for other, you know, veteran entrepreneurial coffee roasters, because there's just not a whole lot of them out there.
Right.
Like, they should aspire to be like Mike. Like fucking put a bracelet on your wrist that says, what would Mike do, right? Just like WW Mike do. Like, he's got a fantastic coffee roaster up there. You just switched over to a Gießen, which is a fucking incredible machine.
This thing's a monster, man.
It's a fucking monster. Super fucking cool. And and that's the thing is we've got different products, right? So it's one of those things where you've got a wide variety of really fucking great products. We do too, and it's just going to fit whomever. If you're looking for a change, you should head over there and take a look, check it out, test it, try the coffee because he's got some really really great coffees. The last one I like, I think the one that you sent me was the Guat.
Yeah,
I like the Guat that you sent down.
Yeah.
Do you have a name on that, or is it just Guatemala?
Just Guatemala.
Yeah, just Guatemala. Yep.
Yeah, we redid all our branding to make it more consumer friendly, right? So once again, the coffee industry, we love to tell people what should be important to them instead of actually telling them, giving them the information that they think's important. So instead of for us, we were using like farm names and all this sort of stuff, and it was confusing people on the grocery store shelf.
Right.
So when we, shifted into that arena, it was like we had to give them the information that was important to them. Right. Country of origin, degree of roast, some flavor notes. Boom.
Super easy.
Done.
Super easy.
Yep. Hey, Mike, so where can we find you, buddy?
Obviously, the cuvecoffee.com is our website. Me personally, I'm just at Mike McKim on everything.
And then the coffee shop is located?
East 6, 2000 East 6th.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot for having. Thanks a lot for coming down. I know it's like an hour from Austin, but it's been awesome.
This is great.
It was great.
Man.
Fucking A.
Really enjoyed it.
You guys are invited anytime.
Awesome.
Launch Code Podcast. I'm Evan Hafer. Thanks a lot, everybody.